Welcome again to another episode of our Cybersecurity Conversations. It's still October, Eswatini's National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I am your host, Fisiwe Vilane, and today I've got a different set of experts that will basically tell us about this year's campaign and why we need to commemorate it. First on the panel is Sakile Dlamini, who's from the Ministry of ICT. We've also got Nokuthula Hlophe, who is the Cybersecurity Manager at ESCCOM. On the far left is Qiniso Gnene, who is from MTN Fintech. He will also tell us about his role specifically within the fintech space. We are talking about empowering eMaSwati to use the internet safely, about the risks that are out there, but also about how we can stay safe and how we can avoid being scammed or falling victims to any of the cyber crimes that are out there. I will start with you, Nkosi. This theme, 2024, Asiphepheni, Secure Our World. Would you briefly tell the viewer how it came about and what it's meant to convey to our digital lives as eMaSwati?
Thank you, Fisiwe. This theme, we've actually chosen it because it rhymes with our National Cybersecurity Strategy vision, which is to create a safe, secure, and resilient cyberspace for Eswatini. And through this theme, we want to tell eMaSwati that cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. Everyone has to do a certain role to ensure that we stay safe online, as individuals, as businesses, and as communities. So that is what we are driving this year throughout this campaign. We are just empowering eMaSwati, making sure that we all stay safe.
Okay, Qiniso. Sakile has spoken about the importance of everyone playing a part, and he has mentioned organizations as key to also making sure that Eswatini realizes this strategy. Why is it important? Now you're speaking not just as MTN Fintech, but for the organizational ecosystem in Eswatini. Why is it important to actually stay close to the issues of cybersecurity?
Thanks, Fisiwe. I think where I'm going to start is that as organizations, we collect a lot of personal data, be it data of our employees, data of our customers, and at times data of our suppliers or third parties. So as organizations, we have the responsibility to actually protect the data because we need to think of the worst case scenario. If that data is to fall into the wrong hands, the repercussions of that. Also, another point that I'm going to raise is that cyber threats, they are ever evolving. 10 years ago, we were only talking about viruses and worms. Today, we are talking also about ransomware. We now have ransomware as a service. So those kinds of threats, if you do not have a good cybersecurity structure within your organization, you won't be able to keep up with what is happening out there. And then also, I think one last point that I would like to mention is that should you suffer a data breach as an organization, I think it's more like a double loss that you may suffer. It's more like getting your wallet stolen and then get fined because you lost your wallet, because we have regulatory obligations to uphold. And if we are found to be liable, we'll be losing finances from what the cyber attacks may have caused us to lose, and also we may also be losing finances in fines due to our negligence.
Of course. Thank you. You've just painted a good picture, and I believe that whoever is working in an organization, a leader in an organization now has a better understanding of the role that they have to play. Nkosi, back to you. The Cybersecurity Strategy 2022 to 2027. I need you to actually structure it for us. First, the ministry's role in it and how it then draws down to the cybersecurity agency.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Faisal. The National Cybersecurity Strategy, basically, it's a framework that actually maps, a coordinated way to handle cybercrime issues, cyber threat issues in the country. And to do that, there are certain structures that, we need to establish, the ministry needed to establish. So basically, the ministry's role, upon developing the strategy was to also set up institutions that are pertinent to the coordination of cybersecurity issues. And the Cybersecurity Agency was a first institution that needed to be established, and also a national set. And both institutions were established to be housed under ESCCOM because of related responsibilities. So we just thought we should expand the scope of ESCCOM as an ICT regulator to also look at issues of data protection and issues of cybersecurity. Alongside that, we also need to establish other structures, which is Cyber Defense Academy. We need to establish also the National Advisory Council, which are yet to be established. So there's still a long way in terms of implementation of the strategy. But the ministry's role is to monitor the implementation of the strategy, and the Cybersecurity Agency is responsible for coordinating, the implementation of the strategy.
Thank you so much, Nkosi. I believe that we now have a good view in terms of where everyone sits in the ecosystem. Nokuthula, you've been with the Cybersecurity Agency since its inception. It's not been here for long, but I believe that during the time that you've been undertaking some of the activities, you have basically seen where some of the gaps are. What would you say would be the quick wins around improving first the posture of Eswatini, but also just in terms of improving the cybersecurity ecosystem for this country?
Okay, thank you, Fisiwe. So I think the first thing and the most important thing is raising awareness. It's very important for us to raise awareness about cybersecurity, public, schools, etinkundleni, you name it, churches. We need to talk about cyber, because for us to improve the ecosystem, we need people that actually know about the risks that are out there. So we do need to raise awareness. And secondly, it's not the responsibility of ESCCOM or government. Other entities need to play a role to improve the entire ecosystem. Your private sector, I'm happy that MTN has actually partnered with us in this instance, because then they also need to spread awareness amongst their staff and everything. That's second. Three, in as much as there is a debate around that, but we do need to invest in security. Infrastructure. I know that most people think that infrastructure for security is expensive, software is expensive, but it is important that you include that in your business, maybe strategy, or even nationally, we actually invest in those things. So that's 3. 4, how are you going to have people that actually can sort cybersecurity issues if you don't have skilled people? So we need to capacitate eMaswati so that they know about cyber. As we stand here, there isn't any course that is being offered by UNESWA that is cybersecurity related. So I think it would go a long way for us to skill eMaswati. Right now, this month, we are offering online courses and they are open to everyone, just to try and capacitate, and they are free of charge. So people can take advantage of those things. I think high level, that is what it is. Before I forget, the other one that's important is the protection of our critical infrastructure. Because as a country, you can't say we are secure if, for an example, maybe our health sector is vulnerable, maybe our parliament is vulnerable. So we do need to identify critical infrastructure and make sure we have policies in place that actually protect that infrastructure.
Okay, moving it from those organized structures and coming down to day, me, my family, my children, my relatives, there's a lot of scamming that is happening on a daily basis that I think our colleagues from reps are actually reporting as well to us in terms of just the shared information. How then is an individual also, what would you emphasize in terms of how they should also be responsible for their own safety based on some of the initiatives that you've said you're raising awareness? From that awareness, how then do I behave to ensure that I'm also protected from some of these scams?
Okay, as Sakile mentioned, cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. It is not just for reps to try and find the scammers and so on and so forth, because sometimes as an individual, you expose yourself to some of these vulnerabilities. You are the one that actually shares your PIN. You're the one that actually will give out your password. You're the one that doesn't have a password protected device, for an example. Those are basic high-level cybersecurity techniques that you can implement as an individual. But I think what actually is a problem with us is singemaswati siyathembana kakhulu. Nakangashaya lo muntu angitshela indzaba yakhe siyamthemba simbelieve. So we are trying to raise that awareness and inculcate that culture, good cyber hygiene, so that everyone knows how to react. And if you're suspicious and you're not sure, then don't act. Don't give that person your PIN number. Don't be answering all those questions that person is asking you. So, yeah.
Okay. Babedlamin, how is government then working? You've already mentioned some of the key pillars of the strategy. How is then government working those pillars into the everyday policies that are now being implemented in the different ministries, in the different government departments?
Okay, thanks, Visiwe. Well, cybersecurity, I think, as Kuniso mentioned, it's not an old phenomenon. It's relatively new, and most of the policies that we had before, they didn't have aspects of cybersecurity. But what we've truly committed to do as government now. The Ministry of ICT is actually pushing that, as in every strategy that we do, especially one that talks to digitalization, we have to ensure that we adopt a security by design kind of approach. If we are developing systems, we have to make sure that we infuse security, in the onset. Just make sure that we close all open ports that may actually exist. So basically, that's what we are actually pushing now. But over and above that, we, as a ministry, this 5 years, we have actually developed a strategy to digitalize government services and basically bring services closer to the people. We know that there were thorny issues coming out of the Sibaya that was held last year. And amongst the issues were the issues of long queues at service centers, needing to travel long distances to get services. So what we have prioritized is actually to bring in solutions that will ensure that people get the services at the comfort of their homes or just on at their fingertips. So as we do that, we know that, that means increasing reliance now on digital technology. And we know that as we increase reliance, also it opens opportunities for the cyber actors to actually attack, because we want to integrate all the services into one platform. So it's easy then to attack this one platform and bring the country down. So it's actually very important that we adopt, encryption mechanisms. We ensure that there's proper authentication of citizens when they get into the systems, just to make sure that we are able to secure our participation in that space. basically, that is what we are doing in terms of that strategy. But there's still a long way, Fisiwe, endzabeni cybersecurity. Kunengile kufuna sikwende. It involves bashito nokuthula ushito. It involves the ministries. It involves, the private sector, civil society, individuals. Sonke ufuna ukuthi vele sente kube indzaba yethu sonke, indzaba ye-cybersecurity. Singayithatheli phansi ngoba you either a victim noma ube ngulo perpetrator. So vele we have to be careful in that.
Okay. Nokuthula umsindvo omningi, October, National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, asiphepheni lokwa nalokwa nga-October. Siyandlula-ke siyangena iyeta inyanga yelweti kuleli viki lelidako, siyandlula lapho. Yini kumcoka ngani lokwekuthi leli vangeli lingapheli inyalo, lichubeke umnyaka usachubeka? Kumcoka ngani nalokwekuthi mina ngiliswati ngingakhulumi lendzaba nyalo ngalokwekuthi sila emva kwaloko bese sekuyathula nje?
Ngiyabonga Fisiwe. Kumcoka kakhulu ukuthi leli vangeli vele lichubeke sikhulume le cyber security kungemi lana nje kulo October kuphela ngoba naleti gilamkhiba nato they're looking at new tactics. They're trying to find new ways of actually scamming people. So let us always be aware. Let us talk about cybersecurity. Let us capacitate each other. Let us talk to our children. Let us talk to our elders. Let us talk to Bokoko, Bomkulu, Emakaya. So this cybersecurity is not just once off. It's a continuous thing because we need to be capacitated. We need to know lama scams that are actually happening, the tactics that are being used, so that the more you know about it, the more aware you are and you won't fall victim, hopefully.
True. Goodness. Your role is very interesting. LISO, which is liso in Siswati, and it basically means you look into things. But you may want to just probably give a brief rundown in terms of what it is that you do. And then secondly, around, some of the risks that organizations, therefore, are facing, having been in that field. What are some of the things that you are seeing, even within the industry, that are happening with regards to cybersecurity?
Thanks. So what I'd like to mention about my role, yes, it's LISO, Local Information Security Officer. So asilali ebusuku, we just want to make sure that we can't wake up in one morning and hear that there's been a cyber attack on the organization. So most of our role is around ensuring that all the security controls that are mandated by our policies and standards are there in all the systems. So that's what gives us sleepless nights, and also to ensure that everyone around us is actually educated on what we are doing and why we're actually doing that. Singena enzabeni yema risks. So the risks that are facing most organizations, someone may think that cyber attacks are very far-fetched for an organization in Eswatini. But that is not true. Every day, an attack of some sort will be happening. It may be successful, it may not be successful. But what makes you probably to be immune is to do everything possible to ensure that you have the proper cybersecurity controls. So first of all is ransomware and malware. Most of the time now attackers, they are not just hacking or attacking organizations for fun. They are doing it for financial gain. They know that if I get access to your data and encrypt it and demand ransom for it, surely there's something I'm going to gain. Even if you decide to not pay the ransom, they can actually go on and sell your data on the dark web where they are going to make a fortune. And another risk is that one of social engineering, which includes vishing and phishing attacks. On a daily basis, there are attackers trying to send misleading messages to us via emails, trying to prompt us into revealing confidential information, into doing things we wouldn't have done probably without being misled. So it's also one of the most contributors to the high number of scams that we have in the country, because someone is just going to send a misleading message. They follow it with a phone call, and now they rely on the fact that as Swazis, we are too trustful. So you're going to trust. We have empathy. When I say I misallocated funds, you're going to try to assist me to get whatsoever. And also it's the part that we are not very educated on on how some of these things work, and we easily get misled. So, and then another thing to mention as part of the risks that organizations face is that one of insider threats. There's no organization that works on its own without people working for it. But it may be intentional, it may be accidental, but these things happen. Someone just mishandles data and it falls into the wrong hands. Someone forgets to lock their company laptop, and someone just peeps through and see confidential data they shouldn't be seeing. Someone just intentionally want to cause harm to the organization. Yes, every organization will have disgruntled employees at some point in time. And then another risk is that one of supply chain attacks. Most cyber attacks, you find that attack happened through a company through an employee or through a third-party supplier. So most of the time, as organizations, when going into contracts or agreements, we do not look into the risk factor from a cybersecurity perspective. We are just concerned with the gains and what our partnership actually brings to the table. But in terms of, do you have the cybersecurity controls to ensure that our data and our customers' data is safe? So that's where you find that it's then lacking in our agreements. So I think the call to all our organizations out there would be, let us be vigilant. Let us ensure that the people we are going into business with, their reputation is also intact, because from a cybersecurity perspective, because if we do not take care of that, our reputation is gonna suffer as well.
So you've really raised an important part of this conversation around the importance of public image or even reputation for companies. However, I'm now bringing it to you, Knox. In the protection of our reputations now, we may find ourselves feeling the need to compromise and not reporting some of these incidents that Kuniso is talking about, because if everyone knows that MTN, for example, has been hacked, then it means they are losing customers or even losing customers' confidence in them. How important is it to report? Why is the reporting important? And what benefit does it then translate to, not just to that organization, but also to the Cybersecurity Awareness, Cybersecurity Agency, and to the country as a whole?
Okay. It is important to report the incidents. I want to assure Qiniso that even if something catastrophic like that happens within MTN, all that they would need to do is just report with us. That information will be kept confidential. So we don't publicly then, not unless MTN does it, but we will not go out in the public and actually tell the public what really happened. So why we collect that information? One, it helps us understand the trends that are actually happening in the country. Two, if MTN has gone through, say, that experience or
any
other organization.
Yes,
sorry,
it was an example.
It was an example. If any other organization has gone through a cyber threat, another one can suffer the same thing. So it gives us a bit of time to actually understand, and maybe we may issue advisories and advise organizations to be in the lookout for A, B, C, D, whatever threat. And this also translates to individuals as well, Fisiwe. If you have been attacked or if they've attempted to scam you, you need to report, because we also need to understand what is currently happening out there. Namuhla bashaya bathi bangu ESCCOM, itolo bebashaya bathi bangemaphoyisa. Sorry, kusasa angibathi usiphatha ushaya bathi babobani.
Bahlale bafuna ukungicashela umfanami bathi nje uplo msa wakho loshoda ngemsebenzi.
Constable Manana kuhle kuba na Constable Gama.
Nami ngingashayelwa ngimandla Sibisi.
So those are things like funeka sithi understand, so that if ngikhuluma sesikhuluma ngako sikhone lokuthi ubobona nanguya umbhokane lokushayelako athi unyanga yakuphi kuphi, be on the lookout ngoba nami sewokwe wangishayela.
On a lighter note, what is the worst that could happen if a hacking situation would be successful? Here, what would I get? 1 million airtime? What could possibly happen?
Yeah, it would be chaos. It would be chaos. You can imagine MTN being a telco, and almost everyone cannot live without their cell phone. On our cell phones, we're accessing the internet. Imagine there's an internet blackout. No one can make phone calls. So the service disruption would really cost, I think, even the national economy in terms of the losses, because no one would be able to make a phone call to close that business deal, send that message, probably get onto a meeting to do anything. So I think that one, the service interruption would really be catastrophic. And then also the reputation would really suffer. No customer would want to stay with MTN after hearing those news. No supplier would be willing to work with MTN after hearing those news. So, and the financial losses as well, because every time there's a service outage, there's a financial loss attached to it. So the losses, financial loss, and we may find that we're actually negligent and cause that, and regulator will be coming to us and fining us. So it would really be a huge loss for MTN. And some of these worst things may go as far as you find some other companies closing down, because now they are unable to actually recover from that cyber attack. Probably at times you think that you have your data backed up, but it's not there. And that's the worst that could happen.
Okay. Before we close off, Knox, I would like for you to acknowledge the partners in terms of this campaign, not just in October, but going beyond. So when we say National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, it's not just the ministry or ESCCOM. There's obviously other people, including MTN Fintech, who basically make things happen. For this year, 2024, who are some of those organizations that have actually kept the car moving?
Okay. It's Royal Eswatini Police. We've been working with them. Whenever we go to raise awareness, they are there. DPM's office to talk about child online safety issues. And then we've got UNESCO as a partner. They're also concerned about child protection. And then you've counted MTN. There's Eswatini Mobile, Eswatini TV, AIMPA. They are the ones offering us the free online cybersecurity courses. Okay. We have EBIS. They are also helping us as well. And yeah, I think... Yeah.
Basically, a lot of others, but I did want for you to just publicly acknowledge, I think, the main ones. As the ministry, Sakile, now a parting shot, if you were given 1 minute to say something to the public around cybersecurity, what would you say if it was now, I don't know, makamekina, unemzuzu munye? What
we want to say as a ministry, we would say, we're trying to balance between, who encourage abantu ukuthi they must use the internet, and we need to ensure that there's proper internet governance, and we don't censor people when they're on the internet. We know potentially internet to boosting the economy. So, and we've actually seen that MTN and other companies are actually thriving on the internet, on data. So it's very important that we encourage people to use the internet, but we want to encourage them to use the internet wisely, circumspectly, making sure that as they use the internet, that they are careful to protect themselves. The cyberspace is a world in itself, and the trick is that it actually exposes you to any part of the world, because the internet is not marked by boundaries, by physical boundaries. So it makes us one global village. So when you get into the internet, you have to know that you are now in an open space. You are now, interacting with the world. So you have to be careful. It opens opportunities, for e-commerce, for traders, because, it expands the market. But also there is a risk that anyone can be able now to actually, attack you, irrespective of the geographic location. And then, so we have to make sure that we encourage people to use the internet, but also make sure that we give them tools and the awareness and capacity to be able to, to practice cyber hygiene when they're actually in the internet.
Selikhulumile elitiko bakhulumile baphathi bethu sebayisonge kamnanzi indzaba yethu lesikhuluma ngayo namuhla siphela lapho isiqephu sethu se-Cyber Security Conversation namhle ekseni. Siyabonga kakhulu, and thank you so much to my guests for coming through. I believe that you have really shared valuable information for the nation out there. I am Fisiwe Vilane, and it's National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we are still saying, as Pepeni, secure our world. See you at the next one.